the top itself is quarter sawn poplar. The back is ribbon mahogany. Below this I have a layer that goes across, so the poplar is running this way. There's a layer of mahogany that's running across it, and then this is the finish layer for the back running perpendicular to the layer below it. That should add some stability to this top from a cupping and twisting perspective. Beneath this ray pattern is a layer of mahogany veneer running sideways. Again, the poplar is running north along the long axis. And as you can see, the rays are pointing in 360 degrees. When this top is finished, it'll have a pat array in the middle. I haven't decided yet on what that's going to look like. And there'll be some purfling or banding around the top corner of this. It's probably going to be a rope design with ebony and holly. And then this top will be finished. But what I'd like to take you through is the process for laying out and veneering the ray pattern that's here. Okay, so I set up this piece of MDF as our substrate. If this was really going to be a tabletop, MDF is a perfectly suitable substrate. In fact, it's a very good substrate for it. You wouldn't really have to crossband it. You can just put the veneer down on it front and back and it would probably do just fine. And I'm using a 3/4 inch board. If I was making a tabletop for a federal piece, I would start with a 1/2 inch board, because those tops were much thinner. They wound up, somewhere in the 5/8 plus range. Now this is not a complete tabletop because I don't want to do this 16 times. I'm going to do the bottom half, and I'm going to do one point to show you how when you start, how you finish by leaving the one you start with overlap. So I'm going to do this top down to here, and then I'll come back as if I went around the bottom and do this one here. I have all my veneers cut and trued on one side and stacked in order. I'm going to start on number 13. It is on the minor axis, and it is the only piece that we start with that is got a jointed line on the left. Now we do this because when we put this in, we want this very close to this line, and if we can hammer it down on the line, we're fine. If we can't, we want to go past the line just a little bit, and then we'll knife it to its final surface. And we want enough of this to be hanging over the other side of the minor ellipse. So I'm going to cut this here to here, because we don't need all of this stuff. It's just going to make it harder for us to finish this thing off. So let me get rid of this excess. And this doesn't have to be at all accurate, and it doesn't matter if it breaks out, because we're going to be cutting this edge off later on. So this is the first piece we lay in. So this piece will go in here, and we want it to go past the center. And then we want to get number 14, and we'll put 14 in here and butt it up against this one, because the right side of 14 has been trued. We'll then lay our straight edge down on this line, and we will cut the left side of 14, and then we will take 15 this is 14, we will take 15 and butt it up against that edge and just walk this around. Same process, butt this side, cut this side, butt this side, cut that side, and you just walk around the tabletop. Couldn't be simpler. So I'm going to put these back in order, and we're going to lay down our first piece. Now I'm going to get these rags wet. That is pretty hot. And wring it out pretty well. I'm just going to wet this down a little bit. Dampen this. Dampen this. And I've got my iron on in case I need to free up this. So I want to go over the line with the glue on both sides. I'm going to lay this in and see if I can get it on that line. Now I'm ready to do the next one. So I just lay down some glue. This glue is a little thick. I think I'm going to thin it out a little bit. So I take number 14. And now we take the straight edge and we line it up this line, and we cut through it. You want to listen because you can hear when you're through. I'll pick this up, and this is stuck down pretty. I can get this off, but to show you what the iron is for, if we take the iron and put it on here, this will lift right off. So that comes off. This little piece of this bottom piece comes off. I want to keep this knife reasonably clean. And this is, so this glue set up and it was up a little bit. I didn't hammer enough out of it, squeeze it out. So I just reactivate it. And you can see the glue squeeze out. Okay, now we're ready for, and we put it down on here. And the heat from this new glue reactivates the old glue. This is 15. It doesn't hurt to use your fingers to pull this together if it's not being friendly to you. And probably the least important part of this table is right here in the dead center, because we're going to put an inlay in there. Okay. So now we need to cut the left side of this. So you get the line, the center point, and this line, and this glue is drying fast. Alright, 16. As you can see, this moves along pretty briskly. I definitely left this too long. Can't even see the lines. There it is. It's best not to have any glue on the surface if you're going to put the iron down, but I want to reactivate this glue because it was pretty dry when I put this down. You can see this one is buckling here. This one may be a problem piece. Yeah, this one's going to be fun. Yep. So this piece was left way too big. There's no glue to hold it down. I got it wet, now it's curling. So I have nobody to blame but myself for this little problem, but might as well see it. So if I wet this side, this thing should lay down again. I got glue underneath here, and there it goes. So I'm just going to heat this, wipe off the glue, and heat this up one more time. think we have averted tragedy. So that was poor. Yeah, you can see the glue squeezing out underneath that. So that was poor preparation on my part, leaving this piece way too big. I need to see where this line is. There it is. You've just witnessed the two stupid things you can do in this process. There aren't that many stupid things to do. I think I've covered them all. Okay, so let's assume we keep going around and we want to come to this last piece, number 12. Now, this first piece is already over the center line. So when I lay this piece down, I want to lay it over that center line again. And it will, the right side would have been butted up against whatever piece of veneer was here, because I'm coming around. So that's butted up against it. This is overlapping, and I'm going to cut it on that line, okay? And that's how both of these are going to. So when I'm putting this last piece in, I probably want a 1/2 inch of overlap. On the left side of this. So this glue is almost done here. It's totally thick. It's another example of how forgiving hide glue is. So I'm going to put this down. This is going to align with the piece of veneer that was over here. I've got to make sure we're past the center line. Okay, now hammer this down. Now we take so this is going to line up with this line and the line that's over here that says the center line. And theoretically, I'm going to be cutting through 2 pieces of veneer at this point. I can feel like I'm through it. So we'll see if we in fact did get 2 pieces of veneer. This one picks up after I heat it up. We pick this one up, and then we pick up this piece that's under here. And then this one sits down in there. And that's how the last piece goes in. If you can ever get this. And we're going to hammer this down. I'm going to get some of this wet glue off here with this drying glue. And then we're going to hammer it down again and reactivate that glue. So see all that glue coming out from under there. What that was glue that had set up so that when I hammered it, it was too thick to squeeze out, and that's not good because that'll leave bubbles and and whatnot underneath there. Okay, so if we had gone around completely, that's how we would have kept adding pieces, and that's how that last piece goes in. So remember, the first piece wants to overlap on both sides. If you can get a butt joint to start on the left side, that's great. Otherwise, overlap it on both sides and then cut it. And this center didn't come out. I must have used a bad line somewhere. Because all of these should come out pretty much dead nuts on, and this number 3 is off. But if you look at this one, they're not perfect, but they're much closer to the center. It's going to be completely irrelevant because something somewhat bigger than this is going to go in here. So those points that you have at the end are going to go away. This stuff. Okay, while I was waiting for this, I was feeling around and it felt like this edge is coming up. Now, since this edge isn't attached to anything, I could just heat this whole thing and slide it around, but in real life this would be wedged between two pieces of veneer. So what I'm going to do with this is exactly what I did with the other one. I'm going to heat up this block. I'm going to heat up this section here and wet it, and I'm going to put that block on it and see if we can get this to lay down. Okay, so we're going to wet this. I'm going to heat it. I'm going to hammer it because I should be able to fix a good deal of this with the hammer. Yeah, you can see that glue coming out. It's down exactly the way you would want it to be, but I'm still going to you want that block hot enough to reactivate the glue. This pushes it down, and then a few minutes later you take it off and theoretically you're good. So we'll see. Well, it's overnight. Where we left off, I was having trouble getting this ray to lay down. It kept coming back up, and that was because I was taking the heated block off too soon. To try to keep in line with the timing of the video. So I just clamped it on, heated it up, put some water on it, heated up the block, and clamped it down and left it overnight. And as you can see, it's down and it's not getting up. I also had to put a block over here. I had to water this and hammer it a little bit. There was a lot of glue under there, and I put the block on there, and that's down. So with any hammer veneering job, after you give it overnight, you want to go around with your fingernails and you're listening for hollow sounds. A hollow sound would indicate that there is a bubble underneath there, and I don't have any. But it would be very distinctive. It would be a hollow sound, and the process is the same. Put some water on it, heat it up with an iron, put a heated block on it, clamp it down, and leave it for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. And 99 times out of 100 it'll stay down. If it's glue starved under there, you'll have to cut it with a knife. inject some glue under there, heat it up, and clamp it down again, and it'll stay down. So the nice thing about hide glue is you can keep working it until it does what you want it to do. So as you can also see, I've drawn the shape of the ellipse on here. I'm going to bandsaw this off, and then I'm going to route the edges.